declaring the office of Speaker of the House of Representatives to be vacant.
I've been bad at a lot of jobs. I ain't never been booed at work. I have never been booed at work. I don't even know how you react. Hi, welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Well, it finally happened. Marjorie Taylor Greene, aka Moscow Marjorie, aka Capitol Hill Karen, filed her motion to vacate Mike Johnson as Speaker of the House.
I seek recognition to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows: declaring the office of Speaker of the House of Representatives to be vacant.
I'm sorry. Were those boos?
To be vacant.
Now, I have been bad at a lot of jobs, and I mean a lot of jobs. Selling Cutco knives, when I was a loan officer, back when I was a paralegal, back when I was selling oil change certificates door to door, stand-up comedian. I've been bad at a lot of jobs. I ain't never been booed at work. I have never been booed at work. I don't even know how you react to something like that. I mean, how do you come back after being booed at work? And is this something that we're going to now initiate as an American public? Can we take this booing home? Can you boo your spouse? Can you boo your loved ones? How about friends? Is that spaghetti again? Boo!
This is the uniparty for the American people watching.
Gentlelady will suspend. Order. Order.
Ah, that's right, the uniparty. The uniparty, because nothing brings the parties together like hating Marjorie Taylor Greene. But you know what? Maybe they were just a booing crowd like the Apollo.
Our elected Republican Speaker Mike Johnson has aided and abetted the Democrats and the Biden administration in destroying our country. Whereas removing this uniparty speaker will not give the speaker's gavel to the Democrats, which would only happen if Republicans actually vote for Hakeem Jeffries.
House will be in order.
Nah. You gotta fight somebody. You gotta fight somebody. Ain't no way they gonna boo you and then cheer as soon as you mention Hakeem Jeffries' name. Now you gotta show them the hands. This is playground etiquette. You gotta handle this as if you were 6 or 7 years old, and that should actually come quite naturally to you, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I do have to ask you, how did your motion go?
Well, here we go. 43 with 7 answering present. The motion is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
So that is the death of Marjorie Taylor Greene's motion to vacate, offered by Congressman Steve Scalise. The motion to table is essentially Kristi Noem taking a shotgun to Cricket's head. It's the death of that effort.
That is bad. 359? Even the Denver Nuggets didn't lose that bad.
Why do you think she moved for the motion to vacate now when she's been in the middle of conversations with Speaker Johnson this week? And he has been making an effort to talk to her for hours and hours and hours. And obviously they agree on a lot of issues. Just his majority is, pretty slim.
Because, again, some people aren't serious about governing and actually getting things done. They would rather just get attention for throwing temper tantrums and acting out. This is part of the problem with Congress. You have members on both sides of the aisle who are more interested in conspiracy theories and crazy political games than they are in actually the hard work of governing.
Oh no, she is not out here playing political games. There has to be a better explanation.
And I'll tell you right now, I am not worried about getting kicked off committees. They did that to me before, and I raised $3.5 million, and I'll do it again, probably even more.
You had a pretty good first term, as I remember.
Ah, there it is, the money. It's about the money. But now I need to holler at Georgia, because the home of Dominique Wilkins deserves far better than Marjorie Taylor Greene is giving them. This is the point where I have to ask you, and no, this is not about all the many other missteps that Georgia has had. Shout out to you, Rick Allen. I see you over there. Now, you have brought somebody into Congress to stage political stunt after political stunt, raise money off of it, and in the process, completely deconstruct the Republicans' ability to function. So how is that working out for you? How is continuing to pay Marjorie Taylor Greene working out for you? Because I can tell you how it's working out for her party.
Listen, all of us in life get to decide how we handle disappointment. You can be productive or you can be destructive. Ms. Taylor Greene is choosing destructive. We know that this motion is not going to do one thing to make America stronger. It's not going to do one thing to deliver a conservative victory. It's going to sow discord and dissent. And by the way, it's going to fail. She is engaged in a failing act of political theater. What you have here are some of the Main Street members who are the adults. And we're going to do what adults do. We are going to ignore the tantrums and instead work to actually govern this country. Anything else on the record?
Do you think Marjorie Taylor Greene should be punished?
One dumpster fire at a time. Let's take care of the motion to vacate, and then we can worry about whatever comes next.
Moscow Marjorie has clearly gone off the deep end, maybe the result of a space laser. But this type of tantrum is absolutely unacceptable, and it does nothing to further the cause of the conservative movement. The only people who have stymied our ability to govern are the very people that have pulled these types of stunts throughout the course of this Congress to undermine the House Republican majority.
They even told her she was on her own before she went out there.
Apparently, she's going to lose. I don't know why she's doing this, because the votes aren't there. She's going to lose the motion to vacate, and I don't know why she's doing it.
Yeah, and Democrats apparently are going to bail her out, which is embarrassing for Republicans.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The Democrats saved her the embarrassment.
Our decision to stop Marjorie Taylor Greene from plunging the House of Representatives and the country into further chaos is rooted in our commitment to solve problems for everyday Americans in a bipartisan manner. We need more common sense and less chaos in Washington, D.C. Marjorie Taylor Greene and extreme MAGA Republicans are chaos agents. House Democrats are change agents. We will continue to govern in a reasonable, responsible, and results-oriented fashion and put people over politics all day and every day.
So if you're scoring at home, she's angered her own party, bringing a motion to vacate the speaker, which for all intents and purposes would have killed their ability to do anything before the November election. We know how long these things drag out. And the Democrats had to come in and save her party so they could move forward with a slim majority. And we had a word for that growing up. We called that the mercy rule. So basically what you're telling me, the Democrats felt so badly for y'all for having to deal with Marjorie Taylor Greene, they threw you a bone to save your speaker so you could continue to move forward with a majority, mind you. With a majority. They didn't decide to run out the clock on this majority and get to the election. They decided to throw you a bone so you could get back to work because of how dysfunctional your entire GOP caucus has become. How does that feel? I need to know how it feels. I need to know how it feels to pick up the phone and call Hakeem Jeffries and ask him for a solid. How is that? And I also need to know, how is she taking this L?
I think it was a great victory yesterday. It was a great victory for the American people to see the truth, for the curtain to be drawn back and them to see the ugly truth.
Of course she did. Of course she did. Of course she thought it was a victory, because it's never about your colleagues. It's always about the theater. Well, congratulations, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You are the worst person on Capitol Hill. And you know what? I actually kind of like the sound of that. Maybe I could make that a regular weekly thing, worst person on Capitol Hill. Oh, wait, what's that? We got some more contenders?
Shutting down the Keystone XL pipeline. Inflation continues to go up because of it. Our gas prices, we know, are high. Gives us on the world stage just a really weak position. You probably wouldn't have seen the war with Russia and Ukraine without that decision. You wouldn't see the war with Israel and Hamas without that decision. Really dumb stuff coming out of the Biden administration.
Laura Trump still intent to finish that application that got denied last week. The link is in the bio. Who can forget the Keystone Pipeline and its connection to the deeper Middle East affairs? Yes. Oh, wait a minute. We got another one?
And that's why I brought on today somebody who I think has some thoughtful perspectives on the future direction of our country, of our conservative movement, and on this question of nationalism and national identity, somebody I've been fascinated by for a long time and have interacted with on social media, but for the first time we're having at least live form conversation in the offline sense of it. It's Ann Coulter. So Ann, thanks for coming on, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Me too. Thanks for having me. That was a fantastic opening monologue. I too am a fan of yours. So I'm going to make a point of disagreeing with you so that it will be fun. You are so bright and articulate, and I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American Black. Can't say that about them. That's derogatory. And that was a great opening segment. Lots of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many, many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that.
I think maybe we could probably go ahead and just name the whole award after Ann Coulter. By the way, if you have somebody you would like to nominate for the worst person on Capitol Hill, you could throw them in the comments, or you could always email me at reese.waters@gmail.com. I would like to correct something that I said earlier in the video about not being booed at work. When I mentioned stand-up comedy, that was a lie. I've been booed plenty of times. I should have just stopped at paralegal. So here I am, minding my own black business, and my black political business, by the way, trying to stay in my lane while in my free time just casually enjoying the back and forth between Drake and Kendrick Lamar and Rick Ross's random flares that he throws in there. And all of a sudden, I'm watching the mental gymnastics that Drake fans are going through in order to defend his reputation and make the case that he is somehow winning this battle. And then all of a sudden, MAGA made a whole lot of sense. Kendrick recorded a diss track, and I thought it was very good. Some of the detractors of Kendrick's diss track, let's call them Drake fans, were taking away from Kendrick's efforts because they said that he took too long to respond. I think he took like 10 days to respond to Drake. Despite the fact that Drake took longer to respond to Kendrick. Kendrick took less time to respond to Drake than Drake took to Kendrick, but Drake fans were saying that Kendrick's response wasn't valid because he took too long. Drake finally gets back to responding to Kendrick, and Kendrick responds right away, like minutes later, like 30 minutes later. And in Kendrick's response, he's basically telling Drake, you have moles in your camp. I knew that this is what you were going to do. I knew this is what you were going to say, and I'm responding to it in advance. Drake, upon realizing that he had his celebratory parade not even rained on, like the police came and pulled out caution tape and arrested everybody at his celebration parade for Family Matters, right? Starts putting out defensive posts on Instagram trying to refute Kendrick's diss track. 24 hours later, he comes with another track basically saying, ha, we set you up. We planted all that stuff. It's all fake. And Drake's fans, in large numbers, are running with this narrative that he set Kendrick up, planted all this fake information, and Kendrick fell for it. Despite the fact that it took him a whole 24 hours to come with this explanation. Before he came with this explanation, he's putting out defensive posts on Instagram trying to refute Kendrick's track. If you knew that Kendrick was going to put this track out because you had fed him fake information, why on earth would you sit on it for 24 hours, put a bunch of stuff out on Instagram, and let yourself be crushed in the meantime? Nobody would do that. Nobody would do that. It doesn't make any logical sense. None. Right? Despite it making no logical sense, these same people that wanted to criticize Kendrick for taking too long, despite Kendrick took longer, have been running with this narrative. And I'm sitting here watching it, and I'm like, Drake fans are MAGA. Drake fans are MAGA, because we sit here and we have these conversations, right? And we're wondering, how could you possibly think that the cases against Trump are politically motivated when this dude been in court his whole life? He been in court for the last 5 decades. This man been in court his whole life. He been getting sued. But now all of a sudden it's politically motivated. So this man was a saint until 2016. And then all of a sudden all this is politically motivated. How do you convince yourself? Like, how do you convince yourself of that? If you would have said, you know what, this dude is a scumbag, he is out for himself, and he will go whichever way the wind blows. But right now, the wind is blowing in our direction. The wind is at our back, and he's giving us what we want. So I'm just going to ride with that. I can respect that. It's immoral, but it's honest. But you got these people out here talking about this man is persecuted. Oh yeah? When he was a Democrat and he out here hanging out doing God knows what with God knows who. You want to explain that? Tim Scott, in advance, it is May, went on Meet the Press, would not commit to accepting the results of the election in 2024, which hasn't happened yet. Despite the fact that he has a known history of claiming things were rigged when he loses.
I will totally accept the results of this great and historic presidential election if I win.
He admitted when he was in Wisconsin that the polls were rigged. Oh, wait, no, but they haven't been recently because I've been winning. Strike that. He told you the game, and you will still have people out here parroting this bullshit from somebody who has a clear track record of going to this because he's too immature to accept that he lost anything ever in his life. This dude is 8 years old. And he has grown people out here going around with his nonsense off the playground. Because that's what it sounds like, just nonsense off the playground. Sounds like a little kid telling you that he's faster than everybody, he's stronger than everybody, he can shoot basketball better than everybody, he could play kickball better than everybody, but then when he plays and he loses, it was rigged. That's exactly what this is. That's exactly what this is. A little kid telling you he's the best at everything, plays, get his ass whooped, and always claims it's rigged. Always claims it's rigged when he get his ass whooped. And the teachers out here actually agreeing with that nonsense. But I'm sitting here watching this discourse between Drake and Kendrick, and Drake fans convincing themselves that his diss was better than Kendrick's because he said he had small feet. Just stupid stuff. Just stupid stuff. These people are willing to believe anything because of this cult of personality around Drake, because of how Drake makes them feel, and they identify as Drake stans, right? And how that makes them feel to be a member of that club. They are willing to suspend reality in order to protect that feeling. And if that ain't MAGA, I don't know what is. Are the days of having a legitimate debate and discourse just over? We feel so moved by our strong emotion and conviction that we need to set everybody else straight. And don't let religion be involved, because then they convince themselves they're saving people. So I don't know how we get back to a place where people feel enough honor to maybe be honest in the first place. I am a governor of one of our 50 U.S. states. It is beneath me to print a memoir where I make up stories. Is that too much? After you got caught lying? Is that too much? Is that too much? In 2024, it's too much. We treat everything like we watching sports now. I'm watching that game yesterday, and I'm watching the crazy double standard in officiating between what they tolerated from the Timberwolves and what they tolerated from the Denver Nuggets. Meanwhile, Nuggets fans are cheering "Ref, you suck" and "F you, ref." Nuggets fans, the beneficiaries of the nonsense double standard, feel like they're wrong. You put on your MAGA hat, and you put on your Drake sunglasses, and you put on your Denver Nuggets cape, and you just root for the home team. That's where we at. Not only do you root for the home team, but you feel everything should go your way, and you are completely unwilling to accept defeat or reality if it doesn't support the home team. When it comes to our political discourse, that clearly has much higher stakes than Drake fans or Nuggets fans, right? That's clearly more problematic. However, the behavior is the same. And so as much as I look at MAGA and some of the mental gymnastics they are willing to do to continue to support Donald Trump, are they maybe just indicative of where society is now? Because we always give Donald Trump the credit, right? He gets the credit for creating and maintaining this cult of personality around him that gives him the latitude to, as he tells it, I can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose any support, right? Was this kind of behavior inevitable? And you needed a grown 8-year-old to draw it out to this degree where it's so obvious what we've become. Another thing, it's also funny how MAGA heads and Drake fans intersect. Do they? Are there a lot of MAGA fans? I didn't draw that line. Said Masterson. Donald Trump himself said his favorite president is Andrew. That's not true. That can't be true. That can't be true. Somebody look that up. No, somebody look that up. That nobody in the history of this world has ever said Andrew Johnson was their favorite president. I don't believe that. I'm willing to believe anything about Donald Trump. I don't believe that. No. Somebody got to look that up.
Wow, former AG Bill Barr, who let a lot of great people down by not investigating voter fraud in our country, has just endorsed me for president despite the fact that I called him weak, slow-moving, lethargic, gutless, and lazy. Based on the fact that I greatly appreciate his wholehearted endorsement, I am removing the word lethargic from my statement. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah. It's classic Trump.
Who is the saddest man you know? Maybe Will Smith, Drake, Kristi Noem's husband? Link in the description. Well, none of them, and I mean none of them, got sadness on former Attorney General Bill Barr. Now, for background, this man was one of Trump's most loyal servants. He spent over a year trying to discredit the Trump-Russia investigation and nullify the Mueller probe. His Justice Department moved to limit the sentencing for Roger Stone and tried to drop the case entirely against Michael Flynn, Trump's first national security advisor, who had already pled guilty of lying to the FBI. Barr has repeatedly voiced suspicions about the origins of FBI's Russia investigation, supporting Trump and other conspiracy theorists who claimed it was engineered by supposed deep state. Now, let's put a pin in this right now. You got the country's attorney general calling out the FBI to protect his man, and they claim what's happening now is partisan. Man, the Trump years were really crazy. It wasn't just COVID and Yanny versus Laurel. Laurel. The man assigned John Durham, the U.S. Attorney for Connecticut, to investigate the investigation and press governments overseas for information to bolster Trump's claim that the Trump inquiry was a hoax. Barr waged bureaucratic warfare to discredit a probe that confirmed Russia attacked the 2016 election to help Trump, and that landed top Trump officials in jail. And I mean, it's not like we needed the Attorney General to handle anything domestic or anything. You know, 2017, 18, 19, and 20 didn't really provide a whole lot of work on behalf of law enforcement or the credibility we the people had in it. So yeah, just go ahead and hang out on QAnon and spend our money trying to validate the wildest stuff you see. Now, there was a breakup because there always is with Donald. Keep that in mind, Melania. This one came in December 2020 when he refused to elevate false claims about voter fraud. Barr later told the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th riot that Trump never offered, quote, an indication of interest in what the actual facts were about the election results, preferring to live in his fantasy world. Now let's just see how Bill Barr is handling the breakup.
Response to you saying you'd vote for the Republican ticket. Wow, former AG Bill Barr, who let a lot of great people down by not investigating voter fraud in our country, has just endorsed me for president despite the fact that I called him weak, slow-moving, lethargic, gutless, and lazy.
Okay, I have seen a lot of posts about exes, but weak, slow-moving, lethargic, gutless, and lazy, that's well done. That is solid. That is solid. That is good work, Donald. I have to give credit where credit is due.
Wow, former AG Bill Barr, who let a lot of great people down by not investigating voter fraud in our country, has just endorsed me for president despite the fact that I called him weak, slow-moving, lethargic, gutless, and lazy. Based on the fact that I greatly appreciate his wholehearted endorsement, I am removing the word lethargic from my statement. Thank you, Bill.
Then he goes, I am removing the word lethargic from my statement. That's quite a clapback. That's quite a clapback. Because clearly this is a move towards Trump that Barr is making. And when that happens, you know, there's a propensity to let bygones be bygones. And Trump was having none of it. He just removed lethargic, meaning the weak, slow-moving, gutless, and lazy still stand.
Weak, slow-moving, lethargic, gutless, and lazy. Based on the fact that I greatly appreciate his wholehearted endorsement, I am removing the word lethargic from my statement. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah. It's classic Trump. What's the question?
Classic Trump. So that's how he's been talking to you this whole time? You mean to tell me he's been talking to you like this and you still moved heaven and earth and all of our federal resources to support him? Gutless was right.
Yeah. It's classic Trump. What's the question?
What's your response?
Well, I mean, obviously, what I said was that I'm very disappointed that this country is stuck with this choice between two people who I don't think either of them should be president of the United States. But given that binary choice, I feel I have to choose Trump.
But he's mocking you.
So it's not about me.
Oh, it's not about me. See, that would be admirable. That would be admirable, except you made it about you when you were Attorney General. Well, you and your mans. You made it about you and your mans when you were Attorney General. So 0 points for that, sir.
I think that I've said this all along. If faced with a choice between two people, neither of which I think should be president, I feel it's my duty to pick the person who I think would do the least damage to the country. And I think Trump would do less damage than Biden. And I think all this stuff about a threat to democracy, I think the real threat to democracy is the progressive movement and the Biden administration.
Oh, so he's not the real threat to democracy. Oh, the man that actually tried to subvert an election and the will of the people, that is not the real threat to democracy. That is fascinating. I would like to see somebody use that in a court of law. No, Your Honor, I was not. The real threat to this merchandise was not my shoplifting. It is these high prices. These high prices are a real threat to this merchandise because nobody's going to want them at that price.
Democracy, especially, from the Anglosphere democracies, the Five Eyes and so forth, the threat's never been for autocratic government on the right.
But how specifically is Biden threatening democracy?
The threat to freedom and democracy has always been on the left. It's the collectivist, socialist agenda. And that is where we're losing our freedom. Parents are losing the freedom to control their children's education.
Oh, control of education, you say? You mean like all these books that have been banned because they feature brown people or a hint of gayness? Is that what you mean?
But Alyssa Farah Griffin, who was Trump's communications director, posted yesterday and said that you were present at a moment when Trump suggested executing the person who leaked information that he went to the White House bunker when those George Floyd protests were happening outside the White House. Do you remember that?
I remember him being very mad about that. I actually don't remember him saying executing, but I wouldn't dispute it. I mean, it doesn't sound. The president would lose his temper and say things like that. I doubt he would have actually carried it out.
You doubt he would actually carried it out? You mean you're not sure? You're not sure? You doubt he would actually carry it out? Oh, I thought he was playing when he said that, but then I never saw Terry again. I got that one wrong. Yeah, I got that one wrong.
I actually don't remember him saying executing, but I wouldn't dispute it. I mean, it doesn't sound. The president would lose his temper and say things like that. I doubt he would have actually carried it out.
But he would say that on other occasions? You said
the president, the president had I think people sometimes took him too literally, and he would say things like similar to that in occasions to blow off steam. But I wouldn't take him literally every time he did it.
So you take him literally some of the time, but not all the time. Okay, and how do you know when to take him literally? When exactly does he have a tell? Is it something in his Adam's apple? Does he sweat? Like, when do you know whether or not to take him literally or not? And that is good to know that we can go ahead and take threats off the table. Because yes, I realize that I've been arrested for threats, but I didn't mean that literally.
So just to be clear, you're voting for someone who you believe tried to subvert the peaceful transfer of power, that can't even achieve his own policies, that lied about the election even after his attorney general told him that the election wasn't stolen. And as the former chief law enforcement in this country, you're going to vote for someone who is facing 88 criminal counts.
Well, look, the 88 criminal counts, a lot of those are, and I've said...
Even if 10 of them are accurate.
The answer to the question is yes.
Law and order is dead, people. Law and order is dead. What happened to the party of law and order? Oh, so when it happens with them, it's law and order. But when it happens with you, oh, he ain't never hurt nobody. He ain't never hurt nobody. Your man got a rap sheet a mile long. Yeah, but he's a good kid.
Name one thing that Biden has done that's worse than that.
I think his whole administration is a disaster for the country.
Is worse than subverting the peaceful transfer of power?
Did he succeed?
Oh, so what is this, a video game? You just get as many opportunities as possible. Oh, you failed. You get to start right back where you were last time. So you just get to try and take over our federal government. And if it doesn't work, hey, just come on back. We'll just merge it right back into things. You know what? I guess we did do that with the Confederacy. We did do that with the Confederacy and gave them money for the slaves, huh? Touche, Bill Barr, touche. But I have to ask you, as a law enforcement officer, since when does "did he succeed" have relevance?
Did he succeed?
Yes, yes. Did he succeed? It is a lot of people in jail right now for alleged crimes. It's a lot of people for alleged crimes, but Your Honor, I ain't succeed. I ain't succeed. Just put me back on the street so I could try again. Then if you catch me, then I go to jail.
Weak, slow-moving, lethargic, gutless, and lazy.
Congratulations, Bill Barr. You are the saddest man in America. If you take the racial slur out of that sentence, it's just a little bit less racist. Still racist, just a little bit less racist. Welcome to Racist of the Week. My name is Reese Waters. This is where we expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the page, and definitely leave me any possible suggestions for nominees in the comments. Today's nominee, convicted felon Donald Trump.
The context of the fact that if they're, as we've talked about, going to now start referring to former President Trump as convicted felon Donald Trump.
Oh, no, it's not for the mugshots comment.
And then I got indicted a second time and a third time and a fourth time. And a lot of people said that that's why the black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against.
Or the bringing two felons on stage to endorse him and appeal to black people.
Come on up, fellas. Rapper Sleepy Hollow.
They always gonna whisper your accomplishments and shout your failures. Trump gonna shout the wins for all of us. Make America great again.
Or even the sneakers. It doesn't even have anything to do with the 34 felonies he was just convicted of. No. This is a whole nother racism. According to a former producer whose NDA recently expired, there are tapes of Trump dropping N-bombs on a contestant of The Apprentice. Trump is accused of using the slur during discussions about the winner of the first season. Now, rumors have long circulated that Trump used the N-word during The Apprentice's filming, with many calling for former executive producer Mark Burnett to release the footage. Emmy-nominated producer Bill Pruitt, whose NDA expired after 20 years, shared his account with Slate detailing Trump's comments. And if there's a takeaway here, other than the whole Donald Trump being racist, is we need to put some more time on them NDAs. I think so. Yeah, I think we've all learned to put a little bit more time on those NDAs. Now, Bill Pruitt recalls a discussion about the final contestant, Bill Ranchich, who won the season, and Kwame Jackson, a black man. During the discussion, Trump allegedly asked, would America buy a N winning? So, not just did he use the slur, he used the slur in the context of, I don't know if America is really going to get behind a black dude winning, a business competition. You know what I mean? I I think that might be a little too far-fetched. Blacks in business? I don't know. You know what? If you take the racial slur out of that sentence, it's just a little bit less racist. Still racist, just a little bit less racist. That's how racist that statement is, that you could lose the slur and he would still be a nominee for Racist of the Week. Here is the whole exchange. Quote, I think Kwame would be a great addition to the organization, which was said to Trump, who winces while his head bobs around in reaction to what he's hearing and clearly resisting. Why didn't he just fire her, Trump asked, referring to Omarosa. It's a reasonable question, given that this is the first time we've ever been in this situation. None of this is something we expected. That's not his job, Beanstalk says to Trump. That's yours. Trump's head continues to bob. I don't think he knew he had the ability to do that. Trump winces again. Yeah, to no one in particular. But I mean, would America buy an in winning? Kepcher's pale skin goes bright red. I turn my gaze towards Trump. He continues to wince. He's serious and he's adamant about not hiring Jackson. Yep, just as bad as advertised. And the contestant in question, Kwame Jackson, himself gave his opinion of 45 felon previously, in case you were wondering about the nature of their relationship.
There have been rumors about this story for years, but now we have Pruitt coming forward and saying that he actually heard Trump use that word. Have you heard about this before? And what's your reaction to now knowing you were allegedly the subject of that comment?
In regards to what he said about the N-word, one, let's be clear, he did not say it to my face because it would have gone down much differently. So I cannot verify that he said that. I don't know if the tape exists. I do believe Bill Pruitt. He is a friend, and I'm happy that he finally came forward. I cannot give him a red badge of courage or profiling courage like John F. Kennedy for doing that 20 years later, but we are where we are, and because of that, we are in a situation where we're not asking the right question. It's not whether he called me the N-word. The question we should be asking is, because he did call me the N-word, what kind of permission structure has been created downstream to make racism flourish in America?
But oh yeah, that's right. Tell me again, Maggie Haberman of the New York Times. He's not racist despite the lawsuits and the ad he took out and not wanting to have a black accountant and dropping N-bombs on people. Because he once dated a biracial woman and she said so. Don't worry, I'm gonna get to Maggie Haberman soon. Now, the Biden-Harris campaign put out a whole statement in response. Quote, no one is surprised that Donald Trump, who entered public life by falsely accusing black men of murder and entered political life spreading lies about the first black president, reportedly used the N-word to casually denigrate a successful black man. Anyone notice a pattern? Donald Trump is exactly who black voters know him to be, a textbook racist who disrespects and attacks the black community every chance he gets, and the most ignorant man to ever run for president. It's why black voters kicked him out of the White House in 2020. It's why they'll make him a loser a second time this November. You know, it never ceases to amaze me the mental gymnastics that black conservatives will go to explain why Donald Trump isn't racist. And it's all right there. You ever learn the closest distance between 2 points? It's a straight line. It's a straight line of racism from the 70s all the way to 2024. Also points Biden for calling him the most ignorant man to run for president. That was pretty strong. Now, Trump himself has consistently denied using the N-word, even addressing the rumors on Twitter in 2018, claiming Burnett told him no such tapes exist. And now I need to holler at executive producer Mark Burnett because he's been receiving a little bit of smoke, but not nearly as much as he deserves for sitting on this for all that time. Now, I'm no babe in the woods. I understand that there are NDAs in place that keep a lot of stuff under wraps. I understand all of that. I understand there's business interests, and it would look bad if you were to release something and people felt like they couldn't trust you. I get it. At the same token, how is it that me as a black man am supposed to feel about you and the products that you're putting out, knowing that you allowed this man who was spouting this kind of vitriol behind the scenes to rise to the highest office of the land where he could affect policy affecting the ends that he denigrated behind closed doors. I get where you're coming from a business perspective, but don't expect me to rock with you. And if we're being honest, I haven't rocked with you in a minute. I mean, I was a fan of Survivor, like back in the day, back when Richard and Tina and Ethan won. But ever since then, it's really, I can't rock with Survivor. Ever since, let's play a game of hopscotch. It got weird, just doing pickup sticks for food. That was all weird. Also, Colby definitely should have beat Tina in season 2. Now, the reality is this behavior cannot persist without enabling. And in this case, it came from our very own.
What you describe in your book is a year-long effort to learn the truth about a rumor that Donald Trump had been caught on tape using the N-word while working on The Apprentice. And here's how you wrote about confirming with a source that the tape does in fact exist. Page 322 of your book. On this phone conversation, I was told exactly what Donald Trump said. Yes, the N-word and others in a classic Trump goes nuclear rant. And when he'd said them, during production, he was mic'd, and there's definitely an audio track. For over a year, I'd been so afraid of hearing the specifics from someone who'd been in the room. Hearing the truth freed me from that fear. Did you hear the tape, or did you hear a description of the tape?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. And in this book, I describe this long journey of hearing these rumors over and over again. And when I had an opportunity to meet up with 3 different sources, they described the same exact statements. After I closed the book, I had an opportunity to go out in Los Angeles and sit down with the person who actually has a copy of the tape. And I heard his voice as clear as you and I are sitting here.
You have heard the tape?
I have heard
since
the
publication
tape.
Of this book?
Absolutely.
See, here's the problem, Omarosa. That wasn't the catalyst for you parting ways with Donald Trump. That is the problem. You might have been miffed at it at the time, but not so miffed that you weren't going to leave and divorce yourself from the man that felt that way about you. You waited until it was in your self-interest, i.e. a book, for you to communicate the reality of what was going on behind closed doors. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
But wait, there's more.
I'm trying to find out at least what context it was used in to help us maybe try to figure out a way to spin it. I said, well, sir, can you think of any time that this might have happened? And he said no.
Well, that's not true.
He goes, how do you think I should handle it? And I told him exactly what you just said, Marissa, which is, well, it depends on what scenario you're talking about. And he said, well, why don't you just go ahead and put it to bed?
Here you have not 1, not 2, but 3 black women out here discussing how to spin the fact that Donald Trump dropped an N on a black man. And I especially appreciate the question, trying to figure out what context he used it and exactly how to spin it. That came from Katrina Pearson. So what kind of context were possible in your mind for how he could have used it? You thought he might have just been rapping to F the police? Is Donald Trump somebody that's been known to rap along to NWA and Public Enemy in his spare time? Is he a big fan of Doggy Style? Like, I don't understand what context this man could have used that wouldn't have been problematic. This whole thing is absolutely disgusting. 3 black women discussing the man calling a black man the N-word. I didn't hear the word disgust. I didn't hear the word unacceptable. Absolutely nothing. And it brings us to a very pertinent point about enabling, okay? Enabling always goes bad, and it looks worse under the light of day, because you think if you enable, maybe one day this behavior will turn around. But in reality, you are the one that's greasing the skids for this behavior to continue. It's only going to get worse. And eventually, when that behavior hits the wall, you will have been the one who made all of that possible. Which brings us to today, where I'm listening to audio of 3 black women discussing how to spin Donald Trump dropping an N-bomb on Kwame. But congratulations to convicted felon Donald Trump. You know what, Mark Burnett, you can get some too. Katrina Pearson, you absolutely can get some too, since you want to protect them so much. Since you want to protect them so much, you protect them in the halls of Racists of the Week. You are all our Racists of the Week. Omarosa, you stay on probation for now, but I got my eye on you. As always, you guys see somebody you would like to nominate, go ahead and leave it in the comments, or you can email me at reese.waters@gmail.com. And be sure to subscribe to the page and make sure you get notified when the next video drops.
What I want to say, first of all, when I seen the video, everything in the video is egregious. I'm against. I don't support all the charges that's alleged against him. I don't support any of that domestic violence. I'm totally against it. So when I seen the video, yeah, I was kind of upset with it. Being that I know him, he's not necessarily a friend, but yeah, I was upset when I seen it.
A few moments later.
So I'm going to get some cheeks after this horsepower joint.
How? I need to know how. Somebody call Jim Jones. Hi, my name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Hey, CNN, yeah, let me holler at you. Let me holler at you for a second. So first, you hit us this week with the Jasmine Crockett interrogation.
Yeah, and I hear that, but she went after your appearance, and then you went back at her 1,000-fold.
I did, in a very lawyerly way.
But obviously she started it. I'm not disputing that, but do you regret that at all?
When you described Green in this request for clarification as a bleached blonde, bad-built, butch body, which I had to look at my notes to read, any regret?
And now this.
So I'm going to get some cheeks after this horsepower joint.
Here I am minding my own black business, and I see Cameron is trending next to Diddy. And that would be extremely disappointed, because I will first of all tell you that I am a Cameron fan. And when you see anybody that you are a fan of trending next to Diddy, that can never be good. And guess what? This wasn't. But the reason why I'm a fan of Cameron is because this is the man who once said, quote, "And the same brother that you knew came through in the rain, same color as you who, now you know that's the same color as doo-doo. I'm the shit, call me Pepe Le Poo Poo." That's art. That's art. That is art right there. Not to mention the fact that he popularized all pink everything. He wore pink, he wore purple, and that really spoke to me as somebody who never had the most expensive clothes. I never had the name brand stuff. I would just get the stuff that was left over at Marshall's and Ross. And quite often, that was some very weird colors. Like I never got the first choice of colorway. It was a lot of pink and greens and like yellows and oranges and things like that. He made me feel seen. I was such a fan. I was willing to lie for them and say that they beat the Locks and that Versus, and that might be the biggest lie I've ever told in my life. So I am a fan, but what the hell was this?
Thanks for being here. First, when you saw that video of Diddy, Cassie in that hotel, did you recognize that Sean Combs?
What I want to say, first of all, when I seen the video, everything in the video is egregious. I'm against. I don't support all the charges that's alleged against him. I don't support any of that, trafficking minors, domestic violence. I'm totally against it. So when I seen the video, yeah, I was kind of upset with it. Being that I know him, he's not necessarily a friend, but yeah, I was upset when I seen it.
Okay, so we're off to a solid start. That was a very long preamble, but a solid start just to get that out of the way at the beginning of the interview.
But
did you recognize
everything
him?
I just said?
Did you recognize that kind of anger at all from your experiences?
I don't know him like that. What do you mean? Do I be recognized? Did I recognize him? I seen him. What do you mean my experiences? I seen him and I thought it was disgusting. I didn't do a zoom in to see if it was really him or nothing, but he admitted it was him. So Yeah, it was him.
Why is this contentious? I need to understand why is this contentious already? Like you are here talk about Diddy, and you seem to be reacting angrily that you're being asked about Diddy. Did you know you were here to talk about Diddy?
What did you think about the apology that he gave in that other video?
Ain't me for this. The apology ain't for me to decide. It's for Cassie. What I think about it don't matter. He ain't do nothing to me. Cassie need to ask Cassie if she accept the apology. I told you how I feel. I said what I said.
Okay, there's some truth to that what Cassie thinks of the apology is the most important, but you are the one who's on television right now, and we're asking you what you think, so anything at all would be helpful.
I want to play a conversation that you had on your podcast back in September with Mace. Listen.
Yeah.
When you had your record deal, why did you take me to Biggie Smalls and not Bad Boy?
Man, it's almost gonna bring me to tears to say this. I just, being that I saw you as such a good friend, I wanted to put you with somebody I knew with.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. A lot of people ask me that on Instagram, man. Don't have me just out here crying and shit, man. I don't want to get emotional in here, man.
Instantly, I knew Biggie would do right by you.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I mean, is there something known in the industry about how Diddy?
Man, did you just take a drink out? This interview is like 3 minutes.
Is there something known in the industry about how Diddy treated his artists?
So I'm going to get some cheeks after this horsepower joint.
Why, Cam? Why? Why? Now, if you weren't giving this interview on this topic at this time, it would have been disrespectful to say that to a woman who's interviewing you, and especially problematic to say it to a black woman. Don't we always like to protect black women? And there aren't a lot that have this kind of platform, and this is what you bring to her platform. Then you add on top of that, you just said.
What I want to say, first of all, when I seen the video, everything in the video is egregious. I'm against. I don't support all the charges that's alleged against him. I don't support any of that trafficking, minors, domestic violence. I'm totally against it. So when I seen the video, yeah, I was kind of upset with it.
But literally 2 minutes later.
Is there something known in the industry about how Diddy treated his artists?
So I'm going to get some cheeks after this horsepower joint.
How? I need to know how. Somebody call Jim Jones. Somebody call Jim Jones, Joel Santana. I need to understand how this is even possible. How is this even possible that it didn't occur to you that might not be the move? At no point, Cam, were you like, you know what? I clearly didn't know they were going to come up and ask me about Diddy, but since they asked me about Diddy, let me go ahead and not go with the horsepower. You know what I mean? I'm going to call audible. You freestyle. I have seen you freestyle on Rap City and murder it. I know you can freestyle, and I know you got media training because you got your own show. You couldn't call an audible and to say, you know what, this is the Diddy interview. I ain't gonna go with the horsepower. Next time I'm going with the horsepower. Next interview I have, I don't care if it's at the White House, I'm going with the horsepower. But I can't do it. I can't do it to my sister. We here talking about Diddy out of respect for the women.
I'm just going off what Mace said. Mace took me to Biggie. I don't really know Puffers like Mace know Puff. So I appreciate what Mace said. And of course, that's my brother. So if he felt that way, then he felt that way. I can't really tell you how Puff moves or anything like that. Mace may know better than me because he was signed to Puff. I wasn't. But my show does come on at 8 a.m. Eastern on YouTube. It's called It Is What It Is. And y'all make sure y'all check it out. I mean, I might get some more information out of Mace from there. But for me to tell you how Puff acting and all that. I don't know. I never was signed to him.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not actually mad at that, that he just pushed his show. He obviously has pushed his horsepower. Was that why you showed up here today? Was that why you showed up, Cam? Because obviously you didn't come here to give a good interview. And while we're on the topic, she would have been well within her rights, Abby Phillips, to end this interview the moment he said cheeks. I mean, really, the moment he said cheeks, typically I feel like if the word cheeks come out in an interview, at that point, you have the ability to end the interview. I'm not mad at her for continuing. I actually think she did as good a job as she possibly could to try and ask him something to extract something decent out of this time that was spent.
What about the industry in general? I mean, so many people have pointed out that Diddy couldn't get away with this stuff if there weren't a lot of people protecting him. Do you think that's the case?
Who the talent agent for this joint? Like, you think I'll be sitting around watching what Diddy do and all this? I didn't know this was a Diddy joint that y'all invited me to. Yo, who booked me for this joint?
All right.
Wow, and I don't be sitting around watching Diddy and all that. Yeah,
Thanks.
Man, come on, man.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you for your time tonight.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. You enjoy.
I just want you to look at her face. I just want you to look at her face. I just want you to look. I have seen that face. I've been met with that face. I have had that face. That is the face that we give to one another when you have disappointed the ancestors with your antics, when you have made people look at me sideways because of how left you just went. That is that face.
They said they never gave you niggas money.
Now, as far as for what Cam said in the end, he expressed complete shock and dismay that he was there to talk about Diddy. Now, there's a possibility he didn't know he was there to talk about Diddy, and he just shows up and is disappointed thinking that he was there to talk about something entirely different and was there to talk about Diddy. That is a real possibility. It's also a possibility they told him he was there to talk about Diddy and he disregarded it or forgot or generally doesn't care and pay attention to what these interviews are about. He's just going to come and be Cam. Also a real possibility. We don't know, so we can't speculate as to what the truth of the matter was. However, what I do know is that this man has a show. He has been famous for over 2 decades. He got media training. Okay, don't give me this. Don't give me this. You put him in a spot and he was unprepared. The man has media training. And don't give me that. No. Don't give me. How many shows has this man performed? Y'all gonna give Cam some more credit than that. Y'all gonna put some respect on his name. And by putting respect on his name, it's holding him even more responsible for what he just did. Okay. Once the man shows up, assuming he doesn't know he's there to talk about Diddy, you can say, you know what? I'm not normally here on CNN. I have a show that I can push. I can give me a couple of information. I don't know a whole lot about Diddy, but I can glad hand, you know what I mean? I can freestyle and segue on over to things that I would rather talk about. That's well within his capabilities to do. But he just decided he's going to let the whole interview go left, drink his horsepower, and say he got some cheeks after this. Now, that makes me wonder whether or not this wasn't entirely the point in the first place. Was that the point, Cam? It feels like it was the point. Now, you did say something in your explanation that I felt like was worth watching.
Yeah, no, they invited me on the show to talk about what's going on with Diddy and all that. And then my thing about it was, Mace, stat is that they didn't invite me on to say about how successful our show is or the positive stuff we do in the community, how every day, 5 days a week, Mace talks to kids on a Zoom call. Mace doesn't even promote this. I'm going to promote this for Mace. Is that every day at 5 o'clock, it don't matter what's going on, what's happening, where he's at. It could be money involved. It could be a photo shoot. It could be whatever. He stops what he's doing to talk to kids around the world about being positive and doing what they believe in and so on and so forth. And to the point where, you know, one day he was at my house and he told me, Cam, you can't make no noise. Don't come in. I'm not playing with you. Like, that's how serious, no, but seriously, that's how serious he takes what he does. And we do all these positive things. And you call me on CNN for the bullshit, I'm going to give you the bullshit. That's just what's going to happen. So We got some free promo. I teased the pink horsepower. They tried to bring up when Mace bought me the Biggie instead of Puff, and I said, yeah, if you seen it, what you asking me about it for? Like, nigga, it was self-explanatory. So I got us some free promo. I didn't get the shout out to Dipset Couture. Make sure you go online to dipsetcouture.us to order some shirts and everything else. But yeah, I just felt that you try to use me, pause.
Now, Cam is right. Cam is 1,000% right. They don't give us the acknowledgement, and oftentimes they act like we are beneath their platform. You are 100% correct in that regard. How are you going to get there from here when the footage they have of you is you drinking the horsepower? You know what I mean? Like, how you going to get there from here? How you going to get there from here? Next time something positive happens, you think, hey, who should we bring on to talk about this? Well, you remember that dude that drank the horsepower? You remember the dude who drank the horsepower? Yeah, that was good. Let's bring him in and talk about what's going on positive in the community. Which brings me to my next point. You had to know in the conversations whether or not to bring Cameron on air that Abby Phillips had to sign off on that. She had to sign off on that. I don't know that it was her idea. Certainly it wasn't her idea to communicate about Diddy, but she had to sign off on that, okay? I don't know how hard she pushed it. I don't know if she's a Dipset fan as I was, but she had to sign off on that. And how's that gonna go for her next time she tries to bring somebody of Cam's ilk onto the show after it just went that way? As far as CNN is concerned, I don't know whether there was a failure in communication with Cam or whether or not you decided, you know what, let's just go to hell together. Let's get Cameron. We know he has a history of doing this. Let's go to hell together. Oh, y'all didn't know Cam got history? Yeah. This ain't his cable news. This ain't his first cable news rodeo.
You hurt children.
How do you hurt children by promoting to be an entrepreneur and a CEO and to do right by?
Looking at a principle.
For example.
Hold it. You're looking at a principle.
Why you don't want to let him talk? You mad. Where'd you start? Current affair, right?
No, wrong.
Well, you're looking
I got
dirt on you, doggy.
Cameron,
I'm going to get at you in a minute.
You go ahead. You get at
I'm going to get at you in a minute.
Listen,
I am mad. You know why? Because now you and Mace aren't going to get the acknowledgement that you should be getting from the establishment in the first place. And you disrespected a black woman on her show while trying to make the point that women need to be protected. How does that make any sense, Cam? And I will also tell you this.
Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am.
That hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you. Now I see why Trump brags about having black friends. It's one of the only things that he could possibly brag about. But if you are so popular with black people, why is it always the same 4 or 5 around you all the time? Hi, my name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Well, he finally did it. He finally did it. Donald Trump said the thing they always say when they get pressed on being racist.
When asked about how he responds to black voters who call him racist, here's what he says.
I have so many black friends that if I were a racist, they wouldn't be friends.
They would know better than anybody and fast.
They would not be with me for 2 minutes if they thought I was racist, and I'm not racist.
And just to underscore the point, I'm not racist.
What is this? In case of racism, break open glass? Like, break open black friends in any emergency. Oh, I'm so glad I got you. Whew, whew, that was close. Whew, I'm so glad I got Lawrence Taylor. Whew, that was a close one. Now let's address the obvious.
Can people be racist and have black friends?
Yes, they can.
Great,
they
great.
can.
Glad
so
we addressed
you
this
just,
at the top.
And it doesn't mean anything. It says something about that relationship.
It says something about the relationship it also says something about the black friends. Who are these black friends? You talking about Tim Scott and Herschel Walker? I don't think they have black friends. They would need to say the exact same thing. Also, I would add, it's actually more troubling that you even have to say such a thing.
I've probably all of my life heard every bigot I've ever talked to say that. That's usually their opening line, that some of my best friends are black. And you say that being defensive because it should be a given that you have friends that are black.
You know, when you got to tell me.
Can you, let's just.
When you got to tell me you got so many black friends.
The fact that you have to say it tells us that you really do have some biased tendencies, if not an outright bigot.
You know, bragging about black friends is like bragging about being faithful to your wife. Actually, you can't brag about that.
He told me I reminded him of his daughter. I felt like he was being sympathetic to me. It was really about two things: trying to keep the story from coming out so that it would not hurt my husband and my daughter and I wouldn't lose my life, and that there would be a paper trail and money trail linking me to Donald Trump so that he could not have me killed.
You can't. Okay. Bragging about that would be like bragging that you pay your taxes.
But just months after it opened, the Taj Mahal missed one of its debt payments, and Trump began looking for a bailout.
His empire could be at risk of collapse if the New Jersey Casino Commission decides not to approve Trump's bailout plan.
By the fall of 1991, all 3 casinos had filed for bankruptcy.
No, you can't brag about that either. That's like bragging that you provide for your family. How many bankruptcies he got? Now I see why Trump brags about having black friends. It's one of the only things that he could possibly brag about. But if you are so popular with black people, why is it always the same 4 or 5 around you all the time who can't come to the cookout?
And if you notice the crowd in the Bronx, he imported a crowd. He could even import a lot of blacks, and only blacks he put on stage was 2 indicted rappers.
These are part of the 8% of black people that have voted for Donald Trump. And again, you know what? I know some black people in my life that voted for Donald Trump.
Fine.
You know, that's fine. That's fine. But y'all are not the majority. It's like young people at bingo.
It takes real effort to go to a black church and have mostly whites in the audience. I mean, in Detroit.
What is that?
I've never heard of that. I've been preaching all my life, and I've never seen a black church in Detroit where the majority of the people in the audience are white.
See, those are sycophants and fanatics. A real black friend, and how we know you don't have them, would have told you that it's a bad look to always criticize leaders of color.
We should remember that he tends to take these kinds of jabs against leaders of color. If you also incorporate Tish James and Alvin Bragg, now certainly those are folks that have him in legal trouble.
Right.
However, but he takes these kinds of shots at leaders of color.
Trump would probably criticize the leader of his own party if he was black. Oh, wait, he did back when he birtherized Obama when he was a Democrat. The only thing that you won't do for black people is have them involved in your businesses.
You've not seen one black business person come into court and accuse him of giving them a deal. Not one. How do you be in business 40 years in New York, which is 2/3 black and Latino, and everybody you did business with was white?
Now let's see, what is more important? We got decades of conduct that's been detrimental to black people in America, or the opinion of Byron Donalds and Lawrence Taylor. Oh, don't forget Chef G.
Everything about race, he's always race baited against blacks. So all you got to do is look at his record. And I've said to any of those that support him, show me where he was on the right side of any race issue.
And it's just more BS from the man who argued for and will argue to this day for the execution of 5 innocent young black men.
He was the president, sitting in the White House, president, during George Floyd, probably the biggest race case of our time. What did he say about George Floyd? Oh, I'm sorry. He had them clear the protesters from in front of the church, held up a Bible, and condemned the protesters.
Who looks at the heritage that Simone and I come from, on the great continent of Africa as whole countries.
This is the man that said when we saw the march in Charlottesville, where they were saying things to protect a Confederate statue, Robert E. Lee, and saying anti-Semitic things, he said they're firing people on both sides.
What Donald Trump do for black businesses?
Well, Donald Trump ain't done jack for black businesses, and he hasn't done during his 4 years. They'd like to tout, oh well, we did this, little program where we did some, something in the community, where largely white businesses took advantage of that.
He started with the Central Park five innocent young men in New York. He called for the death penalty. Well, has he ever called for the death penalty for anybody else?
Joe Biden wasn't sued by the federal government because he refused to provide housing to black people.
Yes. You see, black people who manage to find it in their best interest to go against the communal interests of black people do not a black friends make. That is not the kind of in case of emergency savior that you're looking for. And now, what advice are these black friends giving you now?
For him to say that we are in some way synonymous with mugshots, he didn't say some blacks, he said the black population identified with it, because that's who we are, criminals, thugs. That's what he thinks of us.
We've all seen the mugshot, and you know who embraced it more than anybody else? The black population. It's incredible. You see black people walking around with my mugshot. They do shirts, and they sell them for $19 a piece.
For him to say that, imagine if Barack Obama had said that about whites.
And the moral of the story, I have black friends, or some of my best friends are black, is no defense against racism when those people hate black people too.
When I thought about his 34 felony convictions, his sexual assault on a woman in a public place, his being fined $400 million for business fraud, I thought to myself, Donald Trump isn't just a convicted felon. Donald Trump is a one-man crime wave. America bows to no one ever.
That's it. That is it. Whatever that is, just bottle it up and take 3 shots before you appear in public. Matter of fact, just down the whole bottle of that thing. Just treat it like Mad Dog 2020. Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. I'm gonna be honest, Joe, I was kind of hurt. I mean, I've been telling people about your record and all the things that you could potentially save this country from, and I felt like it was me out there. Like I really did.
I know I'm not a young man. State the obvious. Well, I know. Well, I don't. Folks, I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know right from wrong. And I know how to do this job. I know how to get things done. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
I love that. I'm actually really glad to hear that, and I'm glad to hear you know right from wrong, because whoever was working with you at Camp David on that debate was dead wrong, and we need to be honest and send them to Indeed or Monster.com.
I give you my word as a Biden, I would not be running again if I didn't believe with all my heart and soul I can do this job.
Well, that means so much that you would say something like that, although I would be remiss if I didn't say that that Hunter beat me out of some money on a business arrangement we made for some party favors back in '99. But I appreciate the sentiment. People have been asking questions, and some of them are talking spicy.
Let's continue the breaking news right now. The New York Times editorial board once again calling for President Biden to drop out of the race. CNN political director David Chalian is joining us on the phone right now. David, this is a big deal. Give us your reaction.
It's no doubt a big deal. This is part of what is a moment for Joe Biden, Wolf, in his 52-year career in politics on the national stage that he has never experienced before. This kind of political pressure that is being applied now from editorial boards as prominent as the New York Times, from the donor class, from party stalwarts inside the Democratic Party, elected officials. There is this growing chorus of political pressure, all of which we should note may amount to nothing.
Although, if we're going to be honest, the New York Times still employs Maggie Haberman, so their judgment ain't the best.
Donald Trump is a genuine threat to this nation. He's a threat to our freedom. He's a threat to our democracy. He's literally a threat for everything America stands for.
And don't forget, a threat to women, literally and figuratively. All right, so we're doing this. Now, what time you want to get started? Because we need to fix some things. I'm involved now. I'm hands-on.
I don't know what you did last night, but I spent 90 minutes on the stage debating a guy who has the morals of an alley cat.
You know what? You're right. You probably should hit the clinic and get checked out, because some of that stuff is airborne.
Did you see Trump last night? My guess, he set, I mean it sincerely, a new record for the most lies told in a single debate. He lied about the great economy he created. He lied about the pandemic he botched, killing millions of people. He closed businesses, he closed schools, losing their homes, people all over this country. America was flat on its back. So I told Trump that he was just one of two presidents in American history who left office with fewer jobs than he started. Herbert Hoover was the other one. That's why I call him Donald Herbert Hoover Trump.
Okay, your people won't tell you this, but that nickname is trash. Yeah, just get rid of it. Yeah, it is trash. You can go with Conald, Rump, Orange Turd, literally anything over that.
And then he lied about how great he was for veterans.
Yeah, I heard that. Took credit for Obama's work, man. They always stealing black jobs.
But then I told him how he had called a veteran who had given their lives in the country in World War I and refused to go to the grave sites. He called them suckers and losers. He tried to deny it. But let me ask you, are you going to believe a 4-star Marine general, his own former chief of staff, John Kelly, who said he said that? Or the disgraced, defeated and lying Donald Trump?
You know, I said in a previous video that I would trust the letters LIE on the sidewalk over anything Trump had to say, but I need to amend that to I would trust CNN to moderate a debate over anything that Trump has to say.
For all his lies, we learned some important truths about Donald Trump last night. We learned he's still proud of being the person who killed Roe v. Wade. We learned he's still proud about the pain and cruelties inflicted on America's women. We learned he still believes that politicians, not doctors and women, should make decisions about a woman's health. We learned that if he's elected again and the MAGA Republicans pass a national ban on abortion, he will sign it.
We also learned that he doesn't take pride in anything over his golf game. You remember that whole hush money trial when it came out that he wanted everybody to know that he played well? You know, the man is literally has his family and his finances and his freedom at stake, and he wants everybody to know that I hit par. Yeah, that kind of dude. Also, we learned apparently he thinks that Stormy is a supporting actress at best.
And most dangerously, though, we learned that Donald Trump will not respect this year's election outcome.
Yeah, Joe, we didn't learn that. We knew that.
He's still not rejecting the last time out. Well, think about it. Every court in Newnan ruled that it was a fair election. He's still denying it, still telling lies. 3 times Trump was asked last night by the moderators, would he respect the election results if he lost this time? 3 times he refused to answer. 3 times. Folks, Donald Trump refused to accept the results in 2020. We all saw what happened on January the 6th. It's a direct consequence of that. It was an international embarrassment. By the way, as I go to these international meetings, I know every major world leader, and I literally, because I've been around, as you might have noticed. But they asked me, did he really mean this? Was this real? It caused a constitutional crisis and international embarrassment.
Embarrassment? Trump? Shame? Yeah, we didn't learn that. We knew that.
How about the fact that 40 out of his 44 top advisors, including the vice president, aren't supporting him this time around? The people who know him best, 40 of them said, I will not support the man I work for this time around. It tells you a lot about the person who knows him. Look, he lied about how great he was on crime. I had to remind him that he oversaw a record increase in murder rates in 2020. On my watch, violent crime has hit a 50-year low. There's more to do with a 50-year low. And then I pointed out that the only convicted criminal on the stage last night was Donald Trump. When I thought about his 34 felony convictions, his sexual assault on a woman in a public place, his being fined $400 million for business fraud, I thought to myself, Donald Trump isn't just a convicted felon. Donald Trump is a one-man crime wave.
That's it. That is it. Whatever that is, just bottle it up and take 3 shots before you appear in public. Matter of fact, just down the whole bottle of that thing. Just treat it like Mad Dog 2020. That's the stuff.
And unlike the other guy, we're going to stand up to dictators like Putin, because America bows to no one. No one ever.
Yeah, sprinkle some of that on there too. That's your chaser. I like this.
And we're still the beacon to the world. We can never give up what makes America America. Donald Trump is motivated by revenge and retribution. Well, revenge and retribution never built a damn thing. You and I, we Americans are a nation of hope, optimism, and possibilities. That's what always built America. That's going to continue to build America today. The choice in this election is simple. Donald Trump will destroy our democracy. I will defend it. So, folks, are you with me?
Yeah! We must protect this house! What time is it? Game time? Who?
Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot.
There is a very special kind of triggered that you get by a black woman. Hi, my name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, I know being MAGA is hard because there are so many things that trigger you, like a black president or a Hindu prayer, an Indian VP.
Oh, and I agreed with many, many things you said during
in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you're running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian.
Even an Indian VP's wife. Women thinking.
And this is one of the great tricks that I think the sexual revolution pulled on the American populace, which is this idea that, like, well, okay, these marriages were fundamentally, they were maybe even violent, but certainly they were unhappy. And so getting rid of them and making it easier for people to shift spouses like they change their underwear, that's going to make people happier in the long term. And maybe it worked out for the moms and dads, though I'm skeptical.
Basic logic and reasoning.
Meaning Donald Trump is president now.
He's president now. I believe he is.
But how would that work? Because Joe Biden has been the president, right?
Obama's been the president. Obama said that he would like to run a third term if he could sit in his basement and call the shots, and that's exactly what he's doing.
But you just said that it's Obama's third term, but also that Trump is president.
He's calling the shots on all this mess that's going on right now and all the disasters that he's caused. Yeah.
But how is Obama calling the shots if Trump is still president?
Obama is sitting back and telling Biden what to do.
But what is Biden if he's not the president?
He's a bumbling fool right now.
But why would it matter if Obama was telling Biden what to do if Biden's not president?
Say that again.
Why would it matter if Obama was telling Biden what to do if Biden wasn't president?
But there is a very special kind of triggered that you get by a black woman.
In fact, if we would have said 3 weeks ago, Blake, if we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously.
See, brother, what they want you to do is engage in pick-me behavior. When they attack the black woman, they want you to feel so much relief that their boot isn't on your neck that you leave her exposed. Enter Joy Reid, who, as far as I'm concerned, just said the sky was blue and water is wet.
We still don't know for sure whether Donald Trump was hit by a bullet, whether he was hit by glass fragments, whether he was hit by shrapnel. We don't have those details. We actually have no details from his physician, even though this man is still a Secret Service protected, and presidential candidate. We know almost nothing. Why? Why don't we know that much? We know that 3 people were shot. 1 person, unfortunately, was killed at the rally. We don't know where they were sitting or standing relative to him. We don't know why, for 9 full seconds, Donald Trump was allowed to stand back up during an active shooter situation, even though they, at that point, had said the shooter was down. How would they have known if there were more shooters or not? Nobody knew that there could have been 5 shooters for all they knew. Yet they allowed him to stand up in the middle of that, crisis and pose for a photo and fist pump the air so he could get the iconic photo. And then they allowed him to stand up again outside of the SUV instead of just shoving him into the SUV. That seems really unusual. What is the actual injury to Donald Trump's ear that's under that bandage? Shouldn't we know that by now? It's weird. And there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of curiosity about it, in the sort of media world, my profession. It's weird, right? Where are the FOIAs? Why isn't the New York Times, aggressively pursuing his medical records? It's just weird. Just a strange thing that I've noticed. And I don't know if you guys have noticed it too, but it's weird.
And just look at the shambles that were left behind. This is bad as when they found out about the dude from Creed. Now, I mistakenly took y'all seriously, so I thought I must have missed something. I must have missed something. So I took a second look.
We still don't know for sure whether Donald Trump was hit by a bullet, whether he was hit by glass fragments, whether he was hit by shrapnel. We don't have those details.
That's a fact.
We actually have no details from his physician, even though this man is still a Secret Service protected, and presidential candidate. We know almost nothing.
That is a fact.
Why? Why don't we know that much? We know that 3 people were shot. 1 person, unfortunately, was killed at the rally. We don't know where they were sitting or standing relative to him.
That is a fact.
We don't know why, for 9 full seconds, Donald Trump was allowed to stand back up during an active shooter situation, even though they, at that point, had said the shooter was down. How would they have known if there were more shooters or not?
Can you dispute any of this? Can you dispute any of this?
Nobody knew that there could have been 5 shooters for all they knew. Yet they allowed him to stand up in the middle of that, crisis and pose for a photo and fist pump the air so he could get the iconic photo.
Once again, true.
And then they allowed him to stand up again outside of the SUV instead of just shoving him into the SUV. That seems really unusual. What is the actual injury to Donald Trump's ear that's under that bandage? Shouldn't we know that by now? It's weird.
Is it not weird? Is it not weird? I believe so, because if not, you wouldn't have all these think pieces coming from the right side of the aisle trying to investigate the Secret Service.
And there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of curiosity about it, in the sort of media world, my profession. It's weird, right? Where are the FOIAs? Why isn't the New York Times aggressively pursuing his medical records? It's just weird. Just a strange thing that I've noticed. And I don't know if you guys have noticed it too, but it's weird.
Now, what's wild to me is not only stating facts, but articulating what we don't know, and apparently that is defamatory to say what we don't know. Oh man, MAGA is so consistent. You gonna believe me or your lying eyes? They are very consistent about that. Got people going as far as to say it's grounds for a lawsuit. That is crazy. You know what? You can actually quiet all of this noise with transparency. Yeah. See, that is the wonder of transparency, is it quiets this noise. With the lack of transparency, you amplify this noise. Yeah. The police been dealing with that for a very long time. Yeah, that shooting was 100% justified. Oh yeah, we got video, we got footage. Can you see it? No. You come walking in the house at 3 in the morning and you get asked, where were you? Now, you tell me what would be received better. Oh, you know what? I had some car trouble, so I decided to call my mans. We ended up going out, hitting a couple bars. One thing led to another. I forgot what time it is. Or, what you asking? Why you always bothering me? Huh? Why you always bothering me? What is it's one thing or another? So what? I got a feather boa and go-go boots. This is how I left the house. Amber Rose, what you want? See, hi, Joy Reid. I've never said I wasn't black. I said I identify as biracial. I'm not going to invalid my white father to make you feel more comfortable. Stop being a race baiter. Your president does enough race baiting for all of us. Let me see what exactly Joy Reid said to trigger all this.
So it's ironic that they were able to recruit this young woman who, and she's a racially ambiguous. I don't want to say she's black because she has said she's not. So I don't want to say this black woman, this woman who is of whatever race that she has claimed. She said she's not black. But they brought somebody whose whole career is based in black culture. She used to be on a show on BET. That's the reason most people know who she is. She dated one of the most prominent African-American rappers in the business in the history of hip-hop. So her whole culture came from black culture, even though she says she's not a black person herself. And the fact that she is now the person they're using to try to recruit young people of color and to say that this is the person who is the endorser of Donald Trump who you should trust, when she won't even claim the culture that brought her to the table, I'm dubious that this will work. I don't know anyone who takes their political cues from Amber Rose, but just in case you do, you might want to duplicate doing your own research because she might not have done it thoroughly.
Now, first of all, it's good that you got the talking points. It's good that you got the race baiting talking points. So clearly they're getting their money's worth. But I find it weird that on the one hand, you say, I never said I wasn't black, but then said I didn't want to invalid my white father. That doesn't make any sense. That literally, like, pick a struggle.
You think that's how people perceive you, and is that how you perceive yourself?
I do not consider myself a black woman.
It's also, I find it most entertaining the fact that you said you didn't want to invalid your white father, invalidate, I assume, your white father, as if we would want you to, like as if we would want you to be more black. Like, do you think that we're yearning for you to be a part of the family? Like, is that what you think? That we're upset that you're not brought closer into the bosom of black America? That's what you think the problem is? You probably would think that. You probably would think that, yeah. Because I'm sure, who knows what you've been told when you out here in these streets running into dudes whose car broke down in feather boas and go-go boots. I think that you should spend a little bit more time cleaning up the whole crypto thing. Yeah, that's probably what you want to do. See, that is allegedly why she is MAGA now, because apparently she's trying to get in front of any potential charges that she might be facing by cozying up to the man who might be president. I will say this, far be it for me to ever, and I mean ever, defend Amber Rose, but if you lose money investing with Amber Rose, you deserve to be broke. I'm sorry, you deserve to be broke. That money was not long for your pockets. I am sorry. If you invest your money with Amber Rose, you make worse financial decisions than the people on her OnlyFans. Also, I would stay far, far away from Jocelyn. As far as MAGA is concerned, hey, not only is she talking race baiting, but she attacking Joy Reid. So I think y'all got a good prospect. Yeah. She got promise. New Bern had not held a mayoral election since at least 1965. 1965, despite changes in demographics and voting rights laws. Welcome to Racist of the Week, where we expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the page, and definitely leave me any possible suggestions for nominees in the comments. Today's nominee, former mayor of New Bern, Alabama, Haywood Stokes III, his city council, the People's Bank of Greensboro, and the postmaster at the U.S. Post Office. Now, those are all the people named in a lawsuit filed by a black man who won the 2020 mayoral election in the town of New Bern, Alabama, but was prevented from assuming office. He has fortunately just recently reached a proposed settlement with New Bern. Now, you might be asking yourself, how would they just prevent the man from taking office? Like, he got charges? Was the man a felon? Because, we don't allow felons to do a whole lot of things in this country, but they could be president. No, that wasn't it. Patrick Braxton is set to officially become New Bern's mayor pending court approval, marking the first time in the town's 166-year history that a black person will hold that position. Now, it's located approximately an hour from Selma in western Alabama. New Bern has a population of 133 according to the last census, and it is 85% black. And you know what? A place that is 85% black, having their first black mayor, that should already be racist of the week. I have questions. I have questions for how something like that could happen. But you might be asking, well, why would it be racist of the week? Because this sounds like a celebratory moment. Well, it ain't. Here's where it gets crazy. Following his swearing in, Braxton alleged in a lawsuit that the previous white mayor, Haywood Stokes III, and yes, I had to check to make sure that man was white. I mean, Haywood Stokes III, that's the kind of white man that would get an invitation to the cookout just on general principle. Like, they wouldn't even look at the headshot. Haywood Stokes III? Oh yeah, go ahead and send that registered mail. Braxton claims that Haywood Stokes III, white man, and the majority white city council denied him full access to the mayoral office. Braxton, along with 4 residents he tried to appoint to a new city council, along with support from the NAACP's Legal Defense Fund, filed a legal challenge to uphold the election results. Now, this is MAGA gone wild. Now you gotta file lawsuits to uphold election results. This is what they do. So it's not about who gets the most votes or who actually won the election. I guess it's just about who holds the keys. We'll hold that thought. Braxton claims that he was literally locked out of the town hall, town mail, and financial accounts used to govern the city's budget. They are treating City Hall like a landlord situation. You just gonna lock the man out like, hey, we didn't get them votes, but we got that locksmith over, so it's all good. Yeah, it's all good. I'm just gonna stay right here because I got squatters' rights now. Yeah, I got squatters' rights, so technically that makes me the mayor. They can't make me leave. And you locked him out of the accounts, which you just took all the laptops. You just raided the place like a smash and grab on Rodeo. I'm baffled. I'm baffled that these are the lengths that people will go to preserve power these days. By the way, that is exactly what Trump should have done. He definitely should have changed the White House locks. I shouldn't have said that out loud. I'll probably give him some ideas. The lawsuit also alleged that to prevent Braxton from appointing a majority black town council, the defendants held a secret meeting and orchestrated a special election where only incumbents were eligible, effectively preventing any new appointments. So if you're scoring at home, they held a double secret meeting amongst themselves and held an election amongst themselves where only they were eligible, despite the fact that you literally have residents that had an actual election. Like, just taking all the agency away from the people. Who they think they are, the Supreme Court? Now, the settlement affirms Braxton as the rightful mayor of New Bern with all corresponding powers and duties under Alabama state law, as it should. By law, Braxton was the sole qualified candidate. In 2020, then a volunteer firefighter, Braxton was the only one to actually submit paperwork to run for mayor. Stokes had never filed the paperwork in the past and was always allowed to just assume the position. This is also the same scenario for the council. Let me read that last part again. Stokes, the former mayor, had never filed paperwork in the past to run for mayor. He was always allowed to just assume the position of mayor. And that is exactly the same scenario for the council. Now, I know exactly how much you love to tell people to assume the position, but I've never seen it play out like this. That is wild. So what we have here is a cabal of white men that have assumed power over this majority black town preventing them from having any sort of say-so in their well-being. I mean, even driving Miss Daisy wasn't this offensive. Notably, the settlement actually doesn't require the defendants to admit any wrongdoing, and that is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. If we gonna force Rachel Dolezal to come out here and admit that she perpetrated a fraud and that she has a feet OnlyFans account, how do you get to take all of the voting and electoral power away from almost 200 black people and not have to admit to it in public? Make that make sense. If I have to acknowledge where I was when I slide in the house at 2:15 and I accidentally step on the dog's food bowl and wake up my wife, then you should have to publicly acknowledge taking the electoral power away from 200 black people. Like, that's just, I mean, really, like, come on, what are we doing here? By the way, Leah Wong, an attorney with the Legal Defense Fund representing Braxton, characterized the settlement as a positive step enabling the town to move forward. She noted that despite the challenges, most black residents continue to recognize Braxton as their mayor throughout the ordeal. Now this makes perfect sense why they wanted to settle, because wasn't nobody respecting him as mayor. That's what it is. There wasn't nobody respecting him as mayor. They just put a little badge and a little sticker on his forehead and told him he was Superman, like you do that weird kid in the 4th grade. I didn't know you could even have multiple people walking around as mayors. If I was Braxton, I would just follow him around and tell people to do the opposite and just troll him until he walks off the job. Now, under the terms of the settlement, Braxton must submit names of residents to the Alabama governor for potential appointment to the town council within 14 days of the settlement's effective date. If the governor doesn't appoint council members, Braxton will oversee a special election by December 31st, 2024, alongside the regularly scheduled elections in 2025. Additionally, the town agrees to cover the plaintiff's attorney fees using town funds and will undergo an independent audit of its finances, agreed upon jointly by Braxton and Stokes. Now, here's where they got me messed up. So you want Braxton to assume mayoral duties of the town that now has to pay for the nonsense fraud that you've been perpetrating for years? Word? So basically that's gonna come out my pocket. That's what you're telling me? Why they act like we can't read? No, Haywood Stokes III needs to pay for that. And if he don't have the money on him, tell him to sell some of his hats and some of his cigars, because I know he got them, because his name is Haywood Stokes III. Now, the more I read, the more angry I became at it. Like, get this. A lifelong New Bern resident and volunteer firefighter, Braxton challenged the town's leadership to better serve its majority black community. The lawsuit highlighted that New Bern had not held a mayoral election. You remember I said how Stokes just assumed power? New Bern had not held a mayoral election since at least 1965. 1965. Despite changes in demographics and voting rights laws, they haven't had an election since the Voting Rights Act. Yes, as soon as the Voting Rights Act came out, they were like, oh, not my darkies, mine not voting. I tell you that. We gonna find a way around that civil rights. I tell you that. That's exactly what we gonna do. That is wild. Now, while the defendants denied any conspiracy or racial discrimination in court filings, the resolution of the case marks a significant milestone in New Bern's civic history, acknowledging and rectifying long-standing racial disparities in local governance. In fact, Braxton at 57 says that when he won his election during the height of the pandemic, a white woman told him that the whites in the then 166-year-old city were, quote, not ready for a black mayor. She told him in 2020 that they weren't ready for a black mayor. They had a black president. And they not ready for a black. If you're not ready for a black mayor in 2020, you're never going to be ready for a black mayor. That is exactly who you are. Emmett Riley III, a professor at the University of the South, put it perfectly, saying, quote, "It is a clear case of white people attempting to seize and maintain political power in the face of someone who went through the appropriate steps to qualify and run for office, and by default wins because no one else is qualified." And you know what? I would have to agree. I can't even pick what was the most wild part of this story. The fact that they tried to win an election by having the locks changed, the fact that they hadn't had an election since 1965, since the voting rights, these people hadn't even exercised their new civil rights. Are there other civil rights that they haven't exercised yet? This is like a voting episode of Juneteenth. Do we need to now acknowledge New Bern and the moment that they finally realize that they have the ability to vote? And what other civil rights have they not been exercising? I need to know exactly how free New Bern is. That is how wild this story is. But I do want to congratulations to you, Haywood Stokes III, and your invitation to the cookout is long gone. His city council and the People's Bank of Greensboro and the postmaster at the U.S. Post Office, you are our Racist of the Week. As always, if you have somebody you would like to nominate, go ahead and leave it in the comments, or you can email me at reese.waters@gmail.com. A bunch of you guys suggested this story, and I very much appreciate that. Be sure to subscribe to the page to make sure you get notified when the next video drops.
When you went up there and made that call, your intent was to destroy me, right? And I didn't do anything to him. We never had any conversation.
And you all were trying to go to Disneyland.
Welcome to Racist of the Week. This is where we expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union and also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the page, and definitely leave me any possible suggestions for nominees in the comments. Today's nominee, United Airlines. Now, I just want to flash back to a prior episode of Racist of the Week where American Airlines was featured in this exact space.
Yo, I paid for the flight just like everybody else. So we don't have a right to be on this flight? So this is discrimination. Yo, this is insane.
I agree.
Yo, just because of the color of my skin.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
I do not disagree with you.
Now, the link to that video is in the description, and apparently not wanting American to suffer alone, United is now in on the action as former Denver Bronco and two-time Super Bowl champion Terrell Davis claimed he was wrongfully accused of hitting a flight attendant on Saturday while asking for a cup of ice.
Going down the aisle with the cart, asked my son if you for
How old
drinks.
is your son?
He's 13.
13, okay.
13. And so my son simply asked him after he had served me, he said, "May I please have a cup of ice?"
Mm-hmm.
And the flight attendant didn't hear him, so he pushed the cart past me because I'm in the aisle. And I reached over lightly, I put my hand up first, and I was trying to get his attention, and he didn't see it, so I politely tapped him on his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did that, he swung his arm around, and he said, "Don't hit me."
Mm-hmm.
And,
Were you surprised that that was his reaction?
Oh, absolutely.
And
My hands
what's
out. I
your
was like, "What are you
definition,
talking
Terrell,
about?"
of a light tap? You know?
That's I'm tapping hit my wife the same way I tapped him, just to get his attention.
Terrell Davis's children were excited about their California vacation when their father was unexpectedly handcuffed and removed from a United Airlines flight.
You know, he rushed to the front of the plane, he left the cart there, but I didn't think anything of it. Like, okay, whatever. He had his little moment there, but...
Did other passengers say anything?
Yeah, one passenger in front of me turned around and said that you didn't hit him.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I saw it, you didn't hit him." I was like, "Yeah, of course I didn't hit him."
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought nothing of it.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
So when did you all realize there was a problem?
When we landed in Orange County, And they told everybody on the plane to remain in their seats because they didn't give us they didn't say why.
They said everybody.
But I thought it was because there was a medical emergency. I had been on planes before. I've seen that before. They say stay on the plane, let paramedics come on, and then you get off.
You didn't think it had anything to do with you.
I am reading a magazine at that point. Reading the magazine, my kids are over there, my wife's over there, and all of a sudden you can kind of hear, you can hear all the gear and the walkie-talkies and a lot of commotion. And I peeked into the aisle and I see all the agents. I see FBI on the jacket. I see the green, I think it was the Orange County Sheriff Department.
Yeah.
And they were walking back toward the plane, and as they get closer to my seat, they come straight to me. And the agent walks up to me and he leans over, whispers, "Don't fight it," and put the cuffs on me.
Davis, by the way, is still waiting for a direct apology from United. The incident occurred Saturday at the end of a flight from Denver to Orange County, California. Davis summarized everything on Instagram. Now, at this point, I kind of want to put a pin on things because anybody could have a bad day. Anybody can react angrily at work without sufficient provocation. But in this specific instance, elevating it to violence, an accusation of somebody striking you, doing it on a plane and doing it to a black man, despite the fact that he is with his family, is an outrageous abuse of power. And not to mention one that could have substantial ramifications, especially if the person involved was not rich and or a two-time Super Bowl champion.
I was not aware of any incident.
Yeah. So from your point of view, the agents come on and arrest your husband.
And I'm curious, just like the rest of the flight, like, oh, what's happening? And I see them go straight to Terrell and put him in handcuffs. And I jumped up and I said, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what are you doing? Like, what? And I kept asking Terrell, I said, is this a joke? Like, are you joking? I thought, like, what else could it be, right?
Yes.
This is some cruel practical prank he's pulling on me.
No.
And you just have all these emotions going through panic.
And your children, you have 3 children, ages what, and what?
Our boys are 13 and 11, and they were seated next to Terrell, and our daughter is 9.
After Davis was taken off the plane, we were just left to fend for ourselves on a flight with everyone staring at us. Now, here is a point where I want to go back to something that was said earlier, where he talked about the effect on his family. You have the mental and emotional effect on his family, which could be longer lasting and is much more significant. You have the actual direct effect on his family, the fact that they removed him from the flight without any understanding of how that was going to affect their situation or where exactly they were supposed to go or what exactly they were supposed to do. I would also like to point out the fact that this is something that apparently happened before the flight, which means that this flight attendant had ample time in order to calm himself down and correct his story of the sequence of events. I don't want to hear anything about this is something that got out of control. I don't want to hear anything about this was something that was reactionary. Apparently, there was ample time for this to have been corrected. Later, during questioning, it was rightfully determined by the agents that this flight attendant was inaccurate in his accusations, and the agents profusely apologized, Davis wrote. United Airlines has removed the flight attendant from duty while we closely review this matter.
Well, they apologized. And they said that, listen, if I needed anything, they were there to help. But they realized that what the guy had said. And the biggest problem for me was that the intent of the flight attendant. When you went up there and made that call, your intent was to destroy me, right? And I didn't do anything to him. We never had any conversation.
And you all were trying to go to Disneyland.
We were going on vacation.
I mean, there are so many layers to this story.
The company said in email on Monday evening. Now, it's clearly not the kind of travel experience we strive to provide, and we have reached out to Mr. Davis's team to apologize, said the email. But Davis said they've not reached out to me to apologize. They've reached out to my attorney, but I haven't heard from them directly. And so that, to me, is a problem. And I would agree, if that's something that I happen to go through, I don't want to hear about you reaching out to my attorney. I need you to holler at me. A similar refrain as I had in Wisconsin with Mr. Matt Eady and him reaching out to the attorney of the superintendent that he handled as opposed to the man himself in order to claim that it wasn't racism. I've never known to need an attorney in order to defend you from accusations from racism.
Oh.
Hey. They don't want him to be able to shake her down because he don't deserve it from her. And all the she went through in this district. I'm not aware of allegations where Dr. Briggs doing anything to your daughter specifically. No, it wasn't him specifically.
The traumatizing experience of my two sons, my daughter, and my wife watching me be placed in handcuffs without due process or any explanation cannot be undone, he wrote on Instagram. The FBI's Los Angeles field office acknowledged on Monday that agents and law enforcement partners responded to a report of an incident with a flight that landed Saturday at Orange County's John Wayne Airport. A person who was detained for questioning was cooperative with law enforcement and was released to continue his travels. That's what the FBI office said. And kudos to Terrell Davis for being cooperative with law enforcement because, Lord knows, it speaks to the kind of quick math that we have to do despite your anger and righteous indignation in a situation, knowing that if you were to react the way that you feel you're justified in reacting, things will actually get far worse before they get better. The FBI does not provide details of incidents or names of people who might have been interviewed unless charges are filed publicly. That was according to the FBI spokesperson. What happened on the flight is appalling and disturbing to say the least. That was from Parker Steiner, managing partner of the Chicago-based law firm representing Davis, who wrote in an email, "We plan on fully investigating the events that took place and are actively contacting United Airlines in this matter." By the way, those of you unacquainted with TD, he's one of only 8 running backs to have rushed for more than 2,000 yards in an NFL season. Davis played 7 years in the NFL, all with the Broncos from 95 to 2001, and helped the Broncos win 2 of them things, 2 Super Bowls in January of 98 and 99, and he was named MVP of that first title game, rushing for 157 yards and scoring 3 touchdowns in the Broncos' 31-24 win over the Green Bay Packers. The 3-time Pro Bowler was enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2017. That said, you shouldn't have to be a 3-time Pro Bowler enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in order to not be treated like this in front of your family based on the accusations of one person who had ample time in order to calm himself down. I applaud him and his family for their grace under severe amount of pressure in this situation, and I would also imagine a severe amount of shame, given the fact that he is somebody who people immediately recognize, and everybody doesn't understand the full extent of the story. They just see a black man being dragged off a plane. Oh, wait, that's Terrell Davis. So congratulations to United Airlines. You are our racist of the week. And you know what? That's why I fly Delta. I haven't had the issue. I racist of the week. So United Airlines got one of them things, and now American Airlines got one of them things. Delta, don't do nothing, Delta. Don't do nothing, Delta, because I'm gonna have if Delta do something, I'm gonna have a problem. Now I'm gonna be on Spirit. I'm gonna be on Frontier. Who knows, man? I might have to pull a stagecoach. Hey, y'all keep it real, Delta. I don't want to hear nothing about y'all. As always, if you have somebody you would like to nominate, go ahead and leave it in the comments. You can email me at reese.waters@gmail.com, and be sure to subscribe to the page to make sure you get notified when the next video drops.